It seemed like, for a second there, Elon Musk might be shutting up just a little bit. There had been a couple of days where we hadn't heard from him as much as usual, and then unfortunately, that all changed. Elon is back doing what you expect from him, attacking our government, attacking our citizens, and attacking Democrats who stand up for what is right. And that is exactly what he did in a tweeting tantrum against Senator Mark Kelly, who he called a traitor for supporting our allies in Ukraine. And of course, Mark Kelly wasn't putting up with that. I also think it's because Mark Kelly has consistently called out Elon Musk. And so he dropped the hammer on Elon in an interview, a great clip that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, we're going to check out this interview with Mark Kelly, but after we do, there is a new scary Elon scandal that you're going to want to hear about, so make sure to stick around.
As someone who just got back and was on the ground, what are your takeaways about a 30-day ceasefire and whether or not that is something that you think will be realistic?
Well, it would be a really positive outcome from the meeting in Saudi Arabia. I will say I don't think we needed to be here with this reset. What happened last week or 2 weeks ago now in the Oval Office put us in a really bad place from a negotiating standpoint. Giving away NATO membership, giving away territory before the negotiations started is not where you want to be walking into a negotiation. And then cutting off weapons to the Ukrainians and cutting off their intelligence. We spoke a lot about that when I was there over the weekend, talking to F-16 pilots, talking to some military commanders about the impact that that had. So that all was very unproductive. Now we're back to a good place, and I hope that we can get the Russians to agree to this. We don't know if they will, but I think folks need to keep in mind that they have broken ceasefires before, and we're going to have to hold them to it. So there should be provisions in there for us to do that.
Does it help strengthen Ukraine's hand, which I know you've been worried about, since they did restart the sharing intelligence and also the military weapons as well, the military aid?
Does it strengthen their hand? I think it does now, but they lost something over these days. So when I was there, we talked about, I met with F-16 pilots, and they didn't have the overhead imagery that they need. They didn't have the entire picture of certain things that are very important when you're planning a strike that was taken away from them. There were, because of intelligence that they did not have, it was harder for them to react to ballistic and cruise missile attacks. So those things have an impact. We don't know for sure if additional Ukrainians died because of this, but it is possible.
Yeah. The one thing with this happening and the movement here, and I know one thing you'd been concerned about is Ukraine having to give up land. Secretary Rubio said that realistically they do believe Ukraine will have to give up. It will go to pre-2014 borders when Russia went into Crimea and illegally annexed it. But on this situation overall, Trump has argued that you have to at least talk to Putin to try to get to the table here. Do you believe that that is helpful, given there weren't conversations between Biden and President Putin after Russia invaded?
Well, of course, at some point you have to talk to him. But I always think we should want to negotiate from a position of strength, not weakness. Giving stuff up early just shows that we're weak. I think the president thought he was, showing some strength when they were in the Oval Office bullying Zelensky. That was not productive. That's not who we are as a country. This stuff should not be done in front of a camera. But I think right where we are right now, I think Mike Waltz and Marco Rubio made some progress. Let's try to continue the progress. Let's not blow things up again. Let's not go back and I mean, who knows what could happen, but we don't need to stop the weapons support and the intelligence. That would be a mistake to go down that road again. I mean, you see this with tariffs, right?
Yeah.
Bouncing back and forth all over the place. Let's be consistent.
Remarkable to hear you say, though, that you're at least hopeful about where these talks could go. We'll see, obviously, how Russia responds. When you got back from Ukraine, you posted about your trip, an incredibly lengthy thread that everyone should read, I think, just of what it was like on the ground. Yeah. Elon Musk responded by calling you a traitor.
He did. What? Well, that was
a combat veteran.
That was kind of my reaction when I was flying over Iraq, getting shot at, or flying in the space shuttle. Never once for a second did I think somewhere down the road somebody's going to call me a traitor. But Caitlin, this isn't really about me and what I'm really
not just
concerned.
Somebody.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a guy with a lot of power, a lot of influence over this government. I think it says a lot about him. It says much more about him than it does about me. But what really concerns me is veterans that he is firing without cause from the government. These are public servants. I had a disabled veteran in my office the other day that had recently received an excellent performance report, and 3 weeks later, Elon Musk fires him through an email because of poor performance. That's wrong. That's not fair. Fired him without cause. It has ruined his life. And there are 6,000 veterans just like him.
We also saw Todd Young and Lindsey Graham pushed back on what Elon Musk had to say, calling you a traitor. Are you surprised that you haven't heard from more Senate Republicans, or more of your colleagues?
I've heard from them in the Armed Services Committee in the ante room today.
What did they say to you?
Well, we're kind of joking about it. People are. I got to be careful what I say, in public about what my Republican colleagues say. But we were talking about what he said about me, and it was. It would have been interesting for you to watch if you were in there.
Why? Because they were essentially, I mean, without naming them.
We get along very well.
Them, but if...
I've got very good relationships with my Republican colleagues. And I would say they don't like this kind of behavior.
The Senate Republicans don't like Elon Musk calling you a traitor.
There are a number of them that came up to me to talk to me about this. And yeah, of course, they're not happy with this.
But they didn't say anything.
I mean, this guy has a very powerful job in the United States government. He's got tremendous influence. After the president, I don't think there's somebody with more influence right now over the federal government than Elon Musk. And he's wasting his time on Twitter, insulting people, insulting veterans, calling me a traitor, calling other people's names. Is this a serious person? I don't think he is. So why do you give him this influence? And by the way, I think it's really important for the American people to know that the reason he's doing all this, the reason he's firing all these people, is so he can create some room so when they give this big giant tax cuts to billionaires, it doesn't add as much money to the deficit and the debt as it would otherwise. That's why he's doing this.
Mark Kelly is an American hero. I really can't think of anything more American than serving your country, being an astronaut, being a senator. Mark Kelly is just kind of a cool guy as well. Let's be real, he's just super chill. And Elon is calling him a traitor for defending our ally, for caring about democracy. Elon, you're not from here. You don't know what it means to be an American. Donald Trump called him a patriot the other day. No, what? For stealing from us? Get out of here. And speaking of that stealing, he's decided to do it in the most dangerous way possible. And Rachel Maddow broke that down right here.
Trump has meanwhile just cut our support for nuclear nonproliferation detectives all over the globe. These are the people who hunt for those who are trying to illicitly acquire nuclear weapons or materials. They work all over the world, including Iran. Trump has just cut our funding for those activities. Wired magazine reports that Trump and Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon are about to cut 75% of the Defense Department programs that aim to stop proliferation of nuclear weapons, as well as chemical and biological weapons. NBC News reports tonight that Trump additionally is just going to fire 8 to 10% of all the generals and admirals at the senior levels of the United States military, because sure, why not? That one he's going to put a bow on when he delivers it to Red Square, I think, right? That one's extra special. But amid all the things going on with our flipping sides and us now berating and hurting our previous allies, while we take very, very ambitious steps to destroy not only our alliances, but our own military power, our intelligence relationships, and our own economy. While we're doing that, right? Gutting the U.S. federal government, hurting the military, hurting our intelligence relationships, ruining our alliances, and trashing the economy. While we're busy with all of those things, there's just one other thing that kind of, I think, brings all sides of the news today together. Remember at the top I said stick a pin in that? I mentioned that there's this new reporting on the impact of what Trump and Musk are doing at the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration. Amid all these plane crashes and the crisis they are causing by firing all the people who keep the planes in the sky. At the Atlantic magazine, Isaac Stanley Becker reports on a SpaceX employee who has now been installed at the FAA, quote, to deploy equipment from Starlink across the FAA's communication network. Starlink, of course, Elon Musk's satellite internet terminals company. The directive, quote, promises to make the nation's air traffic control system dependent on Elon Musk, using equipment that experts say has not gone through strict U.S. government security and risk management review. So just put those two things together. Well, we've got, this weekend, Elon Musk threatening our ally Poland, which is more than doubling its army, talking about nuclear weapons, and preparing to be invaded by Russia. We've got Elon Musk threatening them, saying, you know, my Starlink system, my system, is what is determining the course of the war right now. So be quiet, small man. He actually said that, be quiet, small man. It's my technology, my Starlink system that is deciding the war. I'm the one. And while we've got Musk behaving that way against one of our allies when it comes to Starlink, we apparently are simultaneously giving over all U.S. airspace to Starlink as well by letting him take over U.S. air traffic control technology at the FAA, installing his own company in place of the companies that have been cleared by the FAA to provide that technology. Not to put too fine a point on it, but as noted today at The Atlantic, quote, Starlink presents many risks, said one expert. Quote, part of the risk is that Musk could simply choose to switch the devices off. If Starlink runs American airspace, because that's what Donald Trump is letting his top campaign donor do, that gives Elon Musk the ability to shut down American airspace at will. Because after all, Starlink is my Starlink system, according to him, and he can do with it what he wants. Now Donald Trump says that's what's going to run air traffic control in the United States. Seem like a good idea?
This should be terrifying, especially when Elon and Trump just want to talk about DEI, but Elon is giving himself a contract that he didn't earn because he's close to the government. Seems like MAGA DEI to me. And Elon's influence is not just at the national level. He wants to do it at the state and local level as well, which is what he's trying to do, buying a Supreme Court seat. You know, we've talked about this in Wisconsin, but we're not going to let him get away with it. We have to support Susan Crawford, who is the judge running against the radical Republican that Elon is spending millions of dollars supporting. If you want to support Susan Crawford, I've got links below. Make sure if you can give her a donation, that is incredible. If you could phone bank for her, if you could support her, anything you can do goes really far. It would mean a lot to me. And of course, if you want to support this channel, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.